Hey everybody, happy Sunday. Alright. Hey everybody, I guess you know who I'm going to talk about today. Um, by the way, that was the correct, semi-correct way that you want to hear it. I've been playing it this weekend at shows with Keep the Faith. I have an acoustic solo I do, and I'm playing it on a six string, which isn't give it the full effect of my grand piano. I call it the amazing Yamaha that I have. Um, yeah, we're gonna talk about this man because everybody else is, and it deserves it. Let's be real here. Cheers, happy Sunday, cold coffee. This is pre-recorded on Saturday, just to let you know, because I am on the road somewhere in northern Ontario. Um, okay, Ozzy Osbourne. A couple weeks ago, I was given a review of his final show, which was just stellar. Not only him being incredible to be able to go out there and do it, but everybody else who paid the tribute to him, and everybody else who I think someone called it a rock and roll summer camp because everybody was there, and everybody who was in that genre was there, and everybody who was probably influenced by Ozzy and Sabbath, and the two entities that were what they were, and weren't they? Here's Sabbath was kind of you hear the early stuff as like a jazz band, and then they get into this whole, you know, if you want to call it satanic or whatever, they weren't even into that, but they just kind of jumped on that bandwagon of scary music, and and then incredible musicians to craft that. This was a brand new genre, and they just got in there and just toughed it out and played. And so you hear a song like Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, and it's just an incredible piece of music, in the world of heavy rock. Um, for me, it was a song called Supernaut. If you don't know Supernaut, the guitar riff is just incredible, and the bass playing is just Geezer Butler's bass playing is just off the charts. And I heard that at my friend Lee Fowler's parents' place many years ago in Toronto on Superior Avenue. I think I've told this story many times before, but yeah, groundbreaking moment for me hearing that guitar, and I think all of us who were listening to it in the living room that day were like, "Wow, listen to that, listen to that." And then there's a picture of Geezer, with his hands. It was just, kind of, when they take that blurry hand for the speed, and it was a defining moment for me to just want to do that kind of stuff. And but I mean, how many other people had those kind of defining moments with Sabbath music? Just hearing War Pigs and the lyrical content of War Pigs is just still rings true today for what's going on in the world these days. Sabbath was just an incredible band. They kind of fizzled at the end, but there's still, if you listen to Never Say Die, some of the last stuff they did with Ozzy, there's still some unbelievable songs. Kudos to Guns N' Roses for kind of taking that era when they did their set at Back to the Beginning. But here we go. 2 weeks later, he's gone, and huge shock for everybody. We thought we'd have him around for a little longer. His daughter had her proposal backstage at Back to the Beginning, so maybe that was something to hang around for. But I don't know what Parkinson's is like. It's probably awful. Kudos to Sharon and Ozzy for raising so much money for Parkinson's research. It's incredible. I'm assuming Sharon's a genius. kept him alive. Um, he reinvented himself many times in his career, or maybe Sharon reinvented him. Uh, just he got back on board after Sabbath, got an incredible band, and then this incredible guitar player Randy Rhoads, and that was just another defining moment. And that's just even if there was no Black Sabbath, the Ozzy music with Randy Rhoads is incredible. Like just not only Randy Rhoads, Lee Kerslake, the drummer, who was responsible for the intro to Over the Mountain, not Tommy Aldridge, and if you listen to Bob Daisley's bass, it's there's been people that say he's a huge. There's been bass players that say that he's a huge influence on them because of just the way he, at the beginning of I Don't Know, the do 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 all that stuff, and just the bass line in Crazy Train is kind of groundbreaking. So I don't think he gets enough credit, Bob Daisley, for what he's done, and also wrote all the lyrics. I don't know if you know, but Ozzy didn't really write. I don't know if he wrote any lyrics. He must have written some, but Geezer Butler was responsible for the Sabbath lyrics, and Bob Daisley was responsible for the the Blizzard of Oz lyrics, Diary of a Madman lyrics, and I think they brought him back. Yeah, they did bring him back for Bark at the Moon. So, but just groundbreaking stuff, And then Randy passes away, and he probably wouldn't have made it through without Sharon pushing him through. That was when all the really weird stories come up about him. I'm not going to mention it, but watch the Motley Crue movie and see how Ozzy was depicted in that movie. And that's kind of the craziness that happened after Randy's death. I don't think he ever recovered from Randy's death. They always found incredible guitar players. Even Brad Gillis from Night Ranger filling in after Randy's death and just being thrown in the fire. I can't even imagine what Bernie Torme went through, who was the original guy who had to jump on the road and show up with just a guitar and play everything. Incredible. And then of course Bernie Torme could not stay with the band, so they got Brad Gillis to fly over. Brad Gillis got the gig for Ozzy because they had to find somebody, and Brad played in a band called the Alameda All Stars, and their whole claim to fame was kind of like the Toronto band Dwayne Gretzky. They could just do requests and play anything. Yet if it was a tough song, the next night they'd play it. They'd go home and learn it and play it. So Flying High Again was one of the songs that they played, and Brad played the solo note for note, and someone took note. I don't know if it might have been Dana Strum again, who found Randy Rhoads for Ozzy. Dana Strum, who's the bass player in Slaughter, and Vinnie Vincent Invasion in that. So it may have been him had found Brad Gillis to go out there, another incredible guitar player. And then after Brad Gillis left and went back to Night Ranger after the ill-fated tour ended, they also got one more album their one album with Brad was Speak of the Devil, where they covered all of the Sabbath tunes. And then Jake Lee, of course, came in on the Bark at the Moon album and tour. Speak of the Devil is... I've been listening to Ozzy's Boneyard. Speak of the Devil is actually a lot of people's entry into Sabbath. Because it was in the the 80s, and Sabbath was old in the 80s. Let's get that. Sabbath was old music. It was just it just had that rootsy feel to it. And then a lot of people got into the Sabbath music after listening to Speak of the Devil, which he covered almost all the greatest hits of Black Sabbath. But it was a more modern approach. He had Rudy Sarzo and Tommy and Brad Gillis doing a lot of the updated, like a modern guitar sound for that time. Still stands up today, if you ask me. That was an intro for a lot of people to Ozzy's music, Sabbath's music. Then Ozzy just went on. Jakey Lee Ultimate Sin, Bark at the Moon, Ultimate Sin, and then I believe there's lots of gray areas, and then Zach Wilde, uh, who is basically from that point to present. Zach has been his guitar player. There were some years where he did not have Zach, and Zach went off on his own. Um, there was a few guys, Gus, Joe, and then Zach came back. But and Zach accompanied him obviously in the final show. Does anyone notice that Zach sounds a lot like Ozzy singing? Does anyone ever talk about that? I don't know. It's obvious. uh, Zach of course has Zach Sabbath, who he covers. He does albums of Sabbath material, and it's pretty awesome. Speaking of like Speak of the Devil updated Sabbath tunes, Zach did his own turn on that too. But again, Ozzy, solid music through an entire career. Solid music through an entire career. Everything else crazy aside about biting heads off bats and birds and all the stuff from the I'm not going to mention from the Motley Crue movie and everything up till present. Always had solid music. All the songs are great. Every radio's up until the Grammy Award winning album. What was it, about 2 years ago? A year ago? Solid stuff. Incredible career. Sadly will be missed. Ozzy Osbourne is a rock pioneer in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame twice. All the naysayers that thought he was just this nutball, they're probably changing their tune now. He's incredible. Cheers. The cold coffee on a Sunday or Saturday. What else can we say that hasn't been said already? Did I meet him? Did I meet Ozzy Osbourne? The closest I got to meeting Ozzy Osbourne was he was at the Gasworks one night, and I was in the same room with him. Couldn't get near him. He sat in the back corner table in the Gasworks, and I looked over and I could see him, and he was like in that, like laughing his guts out type look, and I thought, that's cool. There's Ozzy right there across the room from me, and he had that the shorter haircut from like the Ultimate Sin era, and there's no way you could get over there. Everybody wanted to, and there's no way you could get over there. I actually met Tony Iommi at the Gasworks. Incredibly tall, holy. No. And Jeff Nichols, the late great Jeff Nichols, who's Sabbath's keyboard player for a lot of years, was right beside him too. I met the two of them, and that was cool. It's hard meeting people like that are iconic. You don't know what to say. You have no idea what to say. I met John Entwistle in L.A. and still, again, did not know what to say to the guy. Crazy stuff. But anyhow, that's all I got to say about Ozzy. That he's phenomenal. He'll be sadly missed. Love the man. Always listen to his show on Sirius because it was just so great. And it was just, if you listen to any of those go back, and if you have Sirius and you can go back and listen to any old shows, listen to how heartfelt this guy is and how much he cared. There's a story about a dog that got beaten up in LA, and it was on the news, that this dog was beaten by its owners, and they had it back in the shelter. And Ozzy just said to Sharon, "Get on the phone right now. We're adopting that dog." And he adopted that dog, like from the shelter. Like he said, we have to bring this dog here. And that was he adopted the dog that was abused by its owner, and that's the type of guy he was. He is. And if he had that, I think if people, I love hearing about people that have enormous amounts of money just helping people. And that's one thing, I think he helped a lot of people, other than the dog. And, obviously they gave all that money to the Parkinson's research. And I think that's more so what he would, I think I'm remembering him like that. You can remember him for whatever you want. I'm going to remember him as that guy. So, Ozzy Osbourne, rest in peace. You're up there with Randy. Finally, again, that's incredible. But anyhow, switching gears, thanks to everybody at Chudley's in Milton who welcomed us incredibly for Keep the Faith. I've been living in the GTA for, well, all my life. I've never heard of this place in Milton. It's a beautiful farm built by this family, and it's just another world up there. There's a stores. There's incredible food. Oh my God! I had the apple spicy apple salsa. Oh my God, it's incredible. They have their own brand stuff. And they have a huge, beautiful stage with a great production crew, and we played two sold out shows last night in one night. They truck out all the people from the 7:30 show to 8:30. There's an hour break, and a whole bunch more people come in, and we had two sold out shows. And Chudley's, check it out, people. It's an incredible place. And Sunday night I will be in Mattawa. I guess tonight, if I'm posting this at the right time. uh, in Mattawa for a street festival. Come out and see Keep the Faith. Come out and see your favorite bands. Come out and see Bridge on Fire in September, because we were kind of off for August. And enjoy your summer. July is sadly almost over, guys. Okay, take it easy. Have a good one. Bye-bye.